Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're exploring one of the most exciting shifts happening right now in personal productivity. We are talking about the move away from the cloud and the complete reclamation of your personal data. Seriously, we're going to look at how to build a fully local AI-powered note-taking system. If you're someone who loves organizing your digital life, but you kind of hate the idea of renting someone else's server to do it, well, you are exactly in the right place.
I mean, think about it for a second. Pairing our everyday productivity apps with AI models is, without a doubt, a real game changer. Suddenly, you're using large language models to manage ideas, summarize meetings, synthesize new connections from your notes. It's amazing. But here's the massive catch. Why on earth would you hand over your most intimate thoughts, your half-baked ideas, or sensitive research to cloud-based AIs like ChatGPT or NotebookLM? Even with their incredible reasoning capabilities, relying on the cloud for something as private as personal knowledge management introduces a massive privacy risk.
So, how do we get the best of both worlds? Here is the roadmap for this explainer. 1. Ditching the cloud. 2. Unpacking embeddings and RAG. 3. MoE on consumer GPUs. 4. Blinko for thoughts. 5. Open Notebook for research. And 6. Reclaiming privacy.
Section 1. Ditching the cloud, the privacy dilemma.
The truly amazing news here is that you no longer have to compromise. You don't have to choose between a smart system that spies on you or a dumb system that respects your privacy. By using locally deployed large language models, or LLMs, you can handle all your inference tasks natively. With the right collection of free and open source applications paired with local models, we can bring that top-tier reasoning directly to your personal knowledge base, completely off-grid. It's entirely possible to move off the cloud without sacrificing an ounce of capability. But to understand how that's actually possible, we need to look under the hood.
Section 2. Unpacking embeddings and RAG. Under the hood.
So the big challenge here is searching massive amounts of text. Conventional LLMs are great at summarizing a single document, sure. But if you want an AI to skim through hundreds of pages of your personal notes and pull out exactly what you need something called an embedding model. Think of a vector embedding like an incredibly complex idea map. It takes your text, or even images and audio, and converts it into mathematical coordinates. Concepts that share similar context are clustered tightly together on this map, while completely unrelated data is scattered far apart. It's literally just a brilliant way for a computer to mathematically understand context.
And that vector map? That is exactly what powers Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG. It's essentially the secret sauce in all of this. RAG is a workflow where your AI doesn't just guess an answer based on its general training. Instead, it actively retrieves precise, highly relevant information from your custom vector map, your own personal knowledge vault, before generating its answer.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual step-by-step pipeline. When you ask your local app a question, Step 1, it funnels your query through that embedding model. Step 2, it generates a brand new mathematical vector just for your prompt. Step 3, it compares your prompt's vector against the giant vector map of all your notes to find the absolute closest overlapping ideas. And finally, Step 4, it tosses those highly relevant text snippets over to the general large language model so it can give you a context-aware answer. It's just a beautifully elegant system.
And if you're sitting there thinking you need a $20,000 server to pull this off, think again. The best part about this process is how incredibly efficient it is. Take the Nomic Embed Text v1.5 model, for example. It meshes perfectly with these RAG workflows, and it's so incredibly lightweight that it can run on a mere Raspberry Pi. No way, right? But it's true. You absolutely do not need top-of-the-line massive GPUs just to run your embedding models. Low-parameter embedding models work flawlessly with typical note-takers. But what about the actual brain, the general-purpose LLM that actually generates the final text?
Section 3. Mo on consumer GPUs. Hardware efficiency.
So, standard LLMs are notoriously power-hungry. We all know this. They require massive amounts of video RAM, or VRAM, because they literally have to load all of their parameters simultaneously every single time they process a prompt. But we can totally bypass this limitation by using Mixture of Experts, or MoE models. Here's the brilliant hardware trick. MoE models split the workload. They run the crucial attention and routing mechanisms right on your GPU's precious VRAM, but they offload the lesser-used expert parameters to your much larger standard system memory and CPU. Basically, this means you can run highly capable reasoning models on VRAM-constrained GPUs without suffering massive performance drops. To give you a real, practical idea of what this looks like running on consumer-grade hardware, check out these specs. A model like Gemma 426B A4B can actually run at an impressive 15 tokens per second on a standard NVIDIA GTX card. You could also swap to GPT OSS 20B. Or, hey, if you've got something slightly beefier, like an RTX 3080 Ti, you can run Qwen 3.635B A3B for lightning-fast coding tasks. And for those of you who absolutely require maximum precision in your search, you can step right up to the Qwen 3 Embedding 8B model. This is all happening on hardware you might literally already have sitting on your desk. So, okay, the hardware theory is sound, but how do we manage the actual chaos of daily ideas?
Section 4. Blinko for Thoughts, Managing the Chaos.
So rather than forcing yourself to map out complex directory trees and folders before you can even jot down a simple thought, you can use a free open-source tool called Blinko. Blinko is deployed entirely locally, and it uses a custom note format, literally just called a Blinko, which is specifically designed for hasty, fleeting thoughts. You just dump your bullet points from a meeting, your quick lecture notes, or random brainstorms right into it. Later, when you're actually ready to finalize them, Blinko uses your local LLM to automatically tag and organize the whole shebang. And because it fully supports RAG, it instantly becomes a highly searchable personal knowledge vault. Blinko is fantastic for those quick, on-the-fly thoughts, but what if you're doing deep, rigorous academic research?
Section 5. Open Notebook for Research, the heavy lifter.
Okay, so Open Notebook is essentially a self-hosted, completely private alternative to Google's NotebookLM. It's built to hoard all your dense materials, massive PDFs, long blog posts, and extensive custom academic notes. It uses that exact same RAG search provision we discussed earlier, but it scales it up so your local AI can sift through dozens of complex sources at once to generate super relevant answers. And this brilliantly illustrates the power of an open-source ecosystem. You can actually hook Open Notebook up to text-to-speech and speech-to-text models via a tool called Speeches. This lets you automatically generate audio podcast summaries of your dense research documents, completely locally. How cool is that?
To help you compartmentalize which tool is right for you, let's look at the primary use cases. If your goal is catching fleeting thoughts and just managing your daily to-dos, Blinko is for sure your go-to. Its hasty note style and auto-tagging are absolutely perfect for daily chaos. On the other hand, if you are tackling heavy academic research, hoarding PDFs, and writing deep documentation, Open Notebook is the tool you want. And its standout feature of local podcast generation from your text, it is just phenomenally useful, especially if you're an auditory learner.
Section 6. Reclaiming Privacy. Your data, your hardware.
As technology writer Ayush Pande notes, I haven't had any issues moving my personal knowledge management system off the cloud. This is super important to highlight. This isn't some futuristic, impossible pipe dream reserved for huge enterprise server farms. This is something entirely achievable right now, today, using standard consumer GPUs, some clever mixture of experts routing, and brilliant open-source software like Blinko and Open Notebook.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. If standard consumer hardware can now run these incredibly powerful local LLMs, utilize advanced vector map bandings, and entirely privately manage your entire digital brain with zero compromises, why are you still renting space on the cloud? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Start looking into these local setups, take back ownership of your data, and I'll catch you in the next one.